exhausted, elated, in disbelief. That's how I feel. That's probably how you feel as a New Zealand fan. The All Blacks have somehow held on to win 24 points to 22, a match that not even I predicted them to win. I've never been so happy to be wrong. A titanic struggle between two great teams, albeit one filled with errors on both sides. In this video, I'm going to break down the game and also go over some of the key statistics which paint a pretty interesting picture of where this match was won, where the deficiencies are for the All Blacks, and where the opportunities lie for them on this Northern Tour. Let's get to it, guys. Whew, damn. That was an absolute doozy. It started with England advancing towards the haka, and this, of course, came after Joe Marler's comments earlier in the week that the haka should be binned. He did delete his Twitter account and then apologized when he resurfaced online. I don't make much of that. I've been hearing stories like that my whole life, along with the All Blacks are losing their aura narrative that's been running for decades now on a cycle. The tone was really set for this game. In the first minute, the English had the ball in their own 22. One of the very first plays was a cross-field kick. And really, the whole game was a bit of a kick fest, both teams testing each other out, probing for gaps. The English did kick twice as much as the All Blacks, and at times it was pretty effective for them. Things didn't really break open until the 8th minute when the man of the match, Wallace Satiti, burst through a gap and put away the most beautiful deft offload to set up Mark Talea for a try. The All Blacks struck, and it was a thing of beauty. But while there were little bright spots in the All Black attack, in general, the England defense was rocking them back in midfield. They were coming at the All Blacks with a line speed that we haven't really seen through the Rugby Championship. I'm including the Springboks. These Northern Hemisphere teams are sort of at a different level when it comes to hitting you in midfield. And to attempt to counter that, you saw a range of kicks from the All Blacks, even Ardie Savea putting in a chip kick on a worked move. I thought that was very telling. The All Blacks have been analyzing this rush defense. And I will say that the All Blacks' variety in their kicking game and the number of kickers that they employed did keep the English honest. But it wasn't until the 27th minute when that really bore some fruit for the All Blacks. They did a great job of manipulating the English players. Beauden Barrett went one way, Will Jordan came the other on a cross around. Beauden slipped an inside ball to him and Jordan skived away. Beautiful try. And you just got the feeling that the All Blacks were probably going to win this game through one-on-one matchups. When England had their zone defense set, it looked like an impregnable white wall at times. However, the All Blacks were able to get some one-on-one mismatches. When they could do that, they looked really good. And let's look at this statistic here. For a game that felt pretty gloomy much of the time, especially in the second half, which we're about to get to, the All Blacks actually did break the line. And if you look at their post-contact meters, they dominated that statistic, 278 meters to 197. So even though the finishing was really not clinical from the All Blacks, way too many knock-ons, there was that continued theme this year of creating opportunity, of getting over the advantage line and making a lot of meters. I made a note after that, England need field position. Yes, what surprised me was actually that the England territory wasn't too dominant. Sure, they did edge the All Blacks 54 to 47%, but you sometimes see England getting into the 60s in terms of territory. This is a team that really knows how to play down the right end of the field. But the English just couldn't get their usual foothold. And I think that's why, as the momentum started to shift towards England heading into the break, they went for penalty kicks when they were able to force errors from the All Blacks. They didn't go for the corner and go for a try. They simply didn't have the momentum. They didn't look like a confident team who felt they could put in an attacking raid and score a try against the All Blacks. Where they did look confident was defense. Man, Tupou Vaa'i is a good candidate for smashed him, bro. He got absolutely nailed by Cunningham South. Whew, what a hit. Probably the biggest hit of the game. The ball was dislodged. Poor Tupou Vaa'i, he's been on a great hot streak this year. This was not his best game. Probably his most nervy, unsettled game for the All Blacks. He was actually pulled 41 minutes into the game. Something about this game, it just got to him. He wasn't quite his usual self. I think he'll bounce back. But in any event, the English D was causing a lot of breakdowns on attack for New Zealand. Not pretty. Wallace Satiti, for instance, he was sort of forced into knocking the ball on, putting in an attempted forward pass. So just that constant pressure from the English had the All Blacks at 6s and 7s. So the All Blacks went into the break just a couple points up, But the momentum swung England's way in the 44th minute. This was the definition of a 14-pointer. The All Blacks were actually hot on attack in the English 22. However, the ball was intercepted by Marcus Smith. Just a breakdown in communication from halfback to Will Jordan. He runs most of the field. I'm thinking like 60 meters, 65 meters. He was able to hold the ball beautifully, get around the last line of the All Blacks defense, set up Fei Waboso for a try. And boy, from one end of the field and it looking like the All Blacks were certain to score a try, somehow we're all the way back and England has scored the try. That was a huge pivot point in the match. And from there, England was able to keep applying pressure. Now, the All Blacks scrum may have won 100% on its own ball, but it also gave away some penalties, and Tamati Williams did not look entirely comfortable out there today. Tough day at the office for him. And it was telling that when Ofa Tu'ungafasi came on later, the scrum penalties started going our way. So a bit of a learning curve for Tamati Williams, who otherwise looked good in general play. But man, these are tough games up here in the Northern Hemisphere. This is the real deal. What was surprising was that for all the intensity that was being brought to the breakdown, there was not a turnover until the 49th minute. Yes, you heard that correctly. There were no turnovers in the first half. Strangely, both teams seemed to be wanting to set up their defense, get set, bring line speed. They weren't necessarily trying to jackal the ball. And that was pretty interesting to me because I had predicted that whoever bossed the breakdown would win the game. Well, you started to see both teams hit the breakdown a bit harder in the second half. In general, it felt like England had a sniff. They felt that they could take the game, and they set up a rolling maul that looked ominous, but it was legally shut down by the All Blacks in the 54th minute. Remember how I mentioned that Tupovalu was taken off in the 41st minute? Well, Patrick Tuipulotu came on to replace him, and he was outstanding. Somehow, the All Blacks senior players were helping the boys stay composed as they were under just a relentless barrage of pressure. In the 57th minute, the English got a scrum penalty. They went for the old Gary Owen, put a huge bomb up that was coming down right by the All Blacks goalposts. Somehow the All Blacks diffused it. But look, from a New Zealand perspective, it was just one heart attack moment after the next. For about 20 minutes here, the English had the ascendancy. Marcus Smith was pulling the strings well. They had plenty of opportunities to kill the game off, but England simply couldn't do it. In the 60th minute, Damien McKenzie, Cam Roigard, Ofa Tu'ungafasi came on, and those players would prove critical for the All Blacks in the final quarter of the game. This year, the theme has been the final quarter fade for the All Blacks. Actually, we saw a lift today. We saw impact. As I mentioned, Tuipulotu was hitting everything and providing a lot of composure. But the names that I just mentioned who came on, they really righted the ship for the All Blacks. The All Blacks got a penalty in the 66th minute. Damien McKenzie stepped up and nervelessly nailed it. So now the All Blacks were down 16 points to 22. Okay, there's a light at the end of this tunnel, All Blacks fans. Another player who was making an impact was Pasilio Tosi in the 72nd minute. He actually helped the All Blacks get a scrum penalty, drove through the middle, created some illegal body positions in the opposition. Okay, things are turning around here. All Blacks start wrestling back the ascendancy in the 74th minute. Huge overlap. Rieko Ioane's attacking in the 22. He should have passed. There were players outside him. Easy for me to say, being an armchair analyst, but he certainly had players outside him. I'm sure some of you are thinking, would Proctor have gotten that pass away? Anyway, that's a moot point. The All Blacks nevertheless got a penalty. Tap and go. Some backline magic, and Mark Talea was over in the corner. And this was such a vindication for him. Yes, there may be some fragility on defense and under the high ball, but this is why he gets picked. 2 tries today that most wingers would not have finished. He is slippery like an eel. He is elusive, he is dangerous, and he knows how to finish opportunities. I'm so happy for Mark Talea. He had a blinder today, an absolute blinder. However, that just meant that the All Blacks drew level. Damien McKenzie needed to slot his kick from the sideline, and guess what? He stepped up and he did it. Now, we've all been critical of D-Mac this year. He's had 8 starts at 10. I've been critical of him at times. Today, we have to give him his flowers. Damien McKenzie delivered. He came on. He was not only creative on attack, he not only ripped the English open, but he kicked 2 absolutely critical goals. If we're going to be fair, we've critiqued him. Let's give him a standing ovation today because McKenzie was absolutely instrumental in winning the game. What did you guys think of Beauden Barrett's performance at 10? You'll notice I didn't mention him a lot. He ran the game okay, plenty of kicking options, but, funnily enough, that performance today probably improved the standing of Damian McKenzie in a lot of people's eyes. I still think Beauden's experience really counts for a lot in these big games, but McKenzie underlined the fact that he does a hell of a lot of things right when he comes on. Perhaps we continue with this, Beauden Barrett starting and McKenzie finishing, because if that's the kind of impact McKenzie can deliver from the bench, who would you rather have out there? Of course, the All Blacks then get a yellow card in the 77th minute. I say that because it seems like they always seem to get a yellow card in the final quarter just to keep things really interesting. ALB penalized for tackling a player off the ball. This was a recurring theme for the All Blacks all day. They had multiple penalties for tackling players off the ball. Was it cynical? I'm not entirely sure about that. I think that there was just so much pressure coming at them. The English attack really came to the line. They created genuine confusion in the All Blacks defenders. And this is like nanosecond stuff, but the All Blacks need to tighten that aspect of their game up against Ireland, or it could be a bloodbath. The thing is, though, how do you do it? These are snap decisions. And when a team carries the ball to the line just to get an offload away at the last second, it's really tricky to hold back and not get too passive on defense and create an opening there. So I actually sympathize with the All Blacks. Definitely the defensive discipline wasn't there, but geez, I would not want to be out there in a black jersey. My God. England really created confusing pictures for the ABs today, and they showed their worth on attack, I felt. Regardless, George Ford, who has come on to replace Marcus Smith, he steps up for a long-range penalty, misses. I was shocked. I thought even though it was on the angle, he would get it. Wow, so then you're suddenly thinking, geez, can the All Blacks really hold on and win this? The All Blacks put in a big scrum in their 22 in the 79th minute. That was crucial because if England had got a dominant scrum there, out the back it goes, drop goal in the pocket, the old Johnny Wilkinson play. They couldn't do that. And so now England was scrambling. It's almost full time. They've got to get a drop kick away. This is clearly going to be the last play of the game, but the All Blacks defensive pressure is there. The intent, the intensity, the hunger is there. George Ford takes the ball, but the All Blacks D is on him like white on rice. He has to turn just to avoid the rush defense, and because he turns his body on an angle, he can't get a clean shot away. The drop kick goes wide. The All Blacks hold on and win. Wow. This was huge for the All Blacks. This was a big win for the mental side of their game, their composure. They held on even though they did not play well today. They made far too many mistakes. Admittedly, they were put under pressure from a very good English side. But still, there's something heartening about the fact that we held on and won while not playing our best rugby. That is huge on this tour. We know these guys have the talent. We know they have the physical skills, but it's all about the top 2 inches. And as ugly as it was, big step forward today for our mentality, our composure under pressure, just our sheer bloody-mindedness and grit, our ability to hold on. And I've got to say, the decision to play Sam Cane was vindicated. Okay, he's not going to be here next year, but you look at who was talking the most today. It was Sam Cane, rallying the troops, calming them down. You just felt like this could have been one that got away if you didn't have the experience of someone like Cane out there on the field for much of the game. Scott Barrett, too, really stood up as captain. I thought that was one of his best games of the year. He was the one who actually came in legally and shut down an English rolling maul that could have been devastating. He looked good at the breakdown. He looked good defensively. He just looks like he's starting to move up through the gears a wee bit. As I mentioned, Damian McKenzie, scintillating when he came on, and clinical, sealed the kicks. Mark Talea showed his worth on attack. But once again, the standout player from a New Zealand perspective was Wallace Satiti. Absolutely phenomenal display, well-deserved man of the match. A couple other players I want to mention. One is Ofa Tuangafasi, a player I've criticized, doesn't have the mobility of these younger props coming through, but he showed his nous, winning a scrum penalty at a crucial time. And, another one we've got to talk about is Asafo Amua. He is the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The All Blacks line-out was ropey today. Not confident in his throwing, but around the field and defensively, he's spectacular. If he can just tighten up the lineouts, we have a gem here. What did you guys think? Is Asafo Amua a liability or an asset? Or is he both? I also think the decision to leave TJ Perenara out of the squad was a good one. Cam Roigard added a lot of zip and spark when he came on, and he looked composed. He didn't look like he was swimming in the deep end. He looks like he's back to test level, and we're definitely going to need him against Ireland next week. I think you repeat that combination. Cortez Ratama starting, Roygaard coming on, maybe even coming on a little bit earlier next week, maybe getting 30 minutes next week. Full credit to England. As I predicted, the loose forwards were very good. Earl was very good. Cunningham South was spectacular. They did gain ascendancy at the breakdown in the second half, but there's just something missing from this English team that they can't close it out. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but you know, at the end of the day, as tight as it's been, the All Blacks did get 3 wins over them this year. That is comprehensive. And I don't want to say that it's back to the drawing board for them. I think they've just got to keep going. I think they are trending in the right direction. And short of, you know, the Springboks, the All Blacks, Ireland, I think England should be pretty much beating everyone that they run into going forward. They should be. And there's a reason I picked them to win this game. If they had played to their potential, they could have. I don't take my prediction back at all. At the end of the day, it was a missed penalty, a missed drop goal. That's why they didn't win. They did everything they needed to win. Frankly, nothing about the way they played today surprised me. That's why I called this. I didn't do it to be controversial. I really felt that England would win today if they played to their potential. And the bottom line is, they're just a few percentage points off that potential. When it all clicks for them, when they have the cohesion they need, when the mental side is a little bit stronger, they're going to be scary. So well done to England on a game well played, and a big congrats to the All Blacks. Adds a little bit of breathing room now. You felt like the minimum acceptable return for the All Blacks this year, given what a tricky calendar year it is, was 3 out of 5, right? You felt like they needed to certainly bookend the tour with wins over Japan and Italy, and they've got to at least pick up 1 win from England, Ireland, France. Well, they won that first game. I'm not saying they're going to drop the next 2, but I am saying that even if the SHIT hits the fan and they go down to Ireland and France at home, there's still a lot to take out of that game. We'll talk more about the Irish game this week, but you know, I actually have felt that the All Blacks can do it. I know the Irish are going to be smarting from the Rugby World Cup quarterfinal, but, you know, I think maybe mentally the All Blacks are starting to turn the corner against Ireland, and I think they'll be up for a big game. But if they make as many mistakes as they made today, they will not win next week. But we'll break that down in a few days. Let's bask in this amazing win. It was tight. It was ugly. It was kind of lucky, you know. It was a little bit of a case of England beating themselves at the end by not shutting the game down. But a win is a win, man. And at Twickenham, against an English team this good, yeah, I'm stoked. This was a big one for the All Blacks. A big one for the All Blacks in terms of their development, the growth of this team. And at least for this week, their winning percentage is up in the 70s. It's trending back to that historical level that we expect from the All Blacks. So, hell, man, let's enjoy it this weekend. Please like, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you for another one soon. Take it easy, guys. Bye for now.